Hey, welcome to my channel. This is Jobadiah speaking. I'm Roman's Revenge, or Roman Ragnarok. I'm playing Empire Solenstal. This is round 4 of the New Year's Revolution Team Tournament. In round 4, we were paired up against Team Belgium. We had played a different Team Belgium in round 1. Um, this team, so basically, there were three Belgium teams in this team tournament. So that's let's see, there's 5 players. So that's 15 players. Most of their I know the Belgium team we played in round 1 was mostly their ETC team, but some of their other ETC guys were spread between their other 2 teams as well. I think they tried to kind of split it kind of evenly so that all 3 teams were fairly strong. So I didn't actually look up this guy to see if he'd played at ETC or not. But anyway, welcome to my channel. This is in this round, I got paired up against Chosen of Sigmar, Vampire Covenant. I had marked this as a yellow, and I'll talk a little bit more about that when we look at the lists. So, here we go. This is my list. You've seen it before. If you've been here before, I have 90 flagellants. I have 2 cannons. I have 30 Imperial Rangers. Remember, Rangers have shots too, which means I actually have 60 shots. It's pretty efficient. Um, Nightly orders. No BSB is the big thing everyone points out to me. They're like, did I miss it in your list? You don't have a BSB? No, don't have a BSB. Sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. I find with flagellants, you don't necessarily need a BSB if you don't care if you fail your frenzy checks. And most of the time, I don't care if I fail my frenzy checks. Plus, if I keep my general around with discipline 10, it's actually kind of rare that I do fail a frenzy check. So, I don't feel like I need a BSB for that. And then because their flagellants are unbreakable, they're not going to break from combat, so you don't need a BSB for that. So really all you would be taking a BSB for is for the rangers, the cannons, and the heavy and light infantry, or the heavy infantry, the support units. But most of the time, they don't actually see combat. And if the opponent is shooting and magicking the heavy infantry instead of the flagellants, then I don't really care. Like, I don't care if 175 points runs off the board. Like, big whoop. So here we go. This is my opponent's list. He had a vampire count all tricked out. 1155 points. Has to be. I already know vampire counts are basically the most expensive characters in the game. Necromancer Evocation, a big block of skeletons, medium block of skeletons, 2 smallish medium blocks of zombies. The big thing with this is he really only has 1 unit of chaff, direwolf. So the Vampire Covenant I played in round 2 had like 2 wolf units and 2 bat units. He had 4 units of chaff, and this guy only has 1 unit of chaff. So I felt better about this matchup than about the one that I had played just a couple weeks ago. But on the other hand, this guy does have a Shrieking Horror, which I felt I could zone pretty well with cannons. Dark Coach, which I also felt I could zone with cannons. Winged Reapers, I knew would be a little bit of an issue. And Vampire Knights, I knew is what he was going to try to use to score. The reason I marked it a yellow was because I had lost 3-17 against Vampire Covenant a couple weeks ago. I know this is a different list, but I still felt unsure about it. And I thought that with his super tricked out vampire count, he could just come forward. Because I knew that was he was probably going to have that in his big block of skeletons with spear. He could just march that unit forward, and I thought the vampire count would be able to just churn out like 5 wounds a turn against flagellants, and would counter the wounds that I would do back to the skeletons. And I thought he would just munch right through me. So I was a little scared of that. And then it's always a gamble with Shrieking Horrors and Ring Reapers and a Dark Coach. Like, he has some pretty fast moving threats. And the last couple games, my cannons haven't been hitting. So if my cannons don't hit, then those fast threats can get into my flanks and rear and really mess me up. So that's why I marked it as a yellow. The objective was Breakthrough, which is my favorite objective, and it's Frontline Clash on map 9, which coincidentally is the same map that I had just played the day before. So I had a general idea of how to play it. Pretty sure. Um, yeah. So for once, I actually won the roll for sides. So I chose the top because that forces him to then have this impassable in his deployment zone. I also, something else I had kind of learned over the last couple games, I elected to only scout with 2 of my ranger units and to deploy the third one with the rest of my army so that I would have a place to put my mage in from the very beginning. So I did that. But anyway, I chose sides and I chose top. We then alternated back and forth for a couple. He did not drop to go first. I think he wanted to see where I was putting my stuff. So he put down, I think he put down this skeleton block right here by the impassable. I put down this flagellant unit in the woods. I thought about dropping to go first since he was giving me the opportunity to go first, but I really wanted to see where he was putting his monsters because wherever these monsters are, I needed to deploy my cannons to counter them. And I also wanted to see, I was fairly certain, I was probably like 95 or more percent certain, especially after he placed his first block, that he was going to put all of his, basically all of his stuff to the right of this impassable, which is what he did. But I wasn't sure if he would put his monsters over here or if he would put his monsters on the other side because his monsters, excuse me, his dark with the Dark Coach and the Shrieking Horror and the Reapers, they're all autonomous. They don't need to be within range of his general to move. So I knew they might be somewhere else. So I just put one down. Then he put down like I think these zombies or something. I put down flagellants. And then so yeah, I had my 2 flagellants in the middle. Because this is breakthrough and I need to block him from scoring. And I know this way with his scoring, I have enough other units that if he deploys over here, I have enough stuff to stop him. Uh, and if the only way he can really come up this way is he has to come right into my flagellant, so he's not going to be able to score objective very well. So anyway, and then he dropped the rest to go first. He decided he wanted to go first, um, so that he could close the gap on my cannons. And I think that was the right call on his part. Let me know if you think I should have dropped to go first when I had the opportunity. Since I did pick the side, I did have the opportunity to go first as well after he only dropped 1 unit. Let me know what you think about that. But otherwise, I actually felt going into the rest of the battle, I felt confident in my decision not to drop for first because, like I said, I wanted to make sure I knew where his big targets were so I know where to put my cannons. So after he dropped for first, I decided, okay, cannons here, obviously, to zone his big stuff. Knights here, also to zone the big stuff. I was going back and forth over that because I felt that the knights on the charge are decent against the coach. They're really decent against all of his stuff, if I get the charge. But I also felt I could put them way over here and I could counter his vampire knights or something too. But I wasn't sure what else I would have to counter his big stuff, so I kept my knights over here. Other than that, I actually wanted to use my general. He did mark my general as the object. He's got this special item, the Cursed Medallion. So he gets like reroll to hit and reroll to wound against a character in the enemy army. So of course he marked my general. And I knew the whole battle he would want his vampire count, this unit, to fight my unit. And I did not want that to happen because I knew he would beat me in that instance. His vampire count would destroy my marshal, and his unit is bigger, and he would go right through my block. So, besides that, I decided my best counter to his vampire knights is if I put flagellants over here. I could basically block his zombies and vampire knights from getting in, and then he doesn't have much else over here, so I figured I could get 1 or 2 of my scoring units into his deployment zone to score. Or if things go well over here with my cannons, my knights could also just come in and score. So that's basically my plan. The Arcane Engine is deployed here because I have Fate's Judgment, and I wanted to use that on either his Reapers or his Shrieking Horror. The Mage, besides taking, let's see, I took Fireball. Did I take Flaming Swords? No, I never cast Flaming Swords. I figured I didn't need Flaming Swords. I took Fireball, Pyroclastic Flow, Scorching Embers, and Quicksilver Lash on my Master. Quicksilver Lash, I wanted to be able to counter the Vampire Knights because they do have a 2-up armor save, and I knew I couldn't really hurt them any other way. So that was just extra protection against them, and that's about it. Alright, then I put my scouts here. Scouts over here so that I could kill his chaff. And scouts over here so that I could zone. Now I have 2 units of rangers that can also target that Shrieking Horror if he decides to push forward. So if he wants to push forward with the Shrieking Horror on his first turn, it's going to be hard for him. He can basically stay out of sight of 1 cannon, but I'm going to have 20 bow shots and a cannon and Fate's Judgment all on it if he decides to come straight forward. So I'm feeling pretty good about electing to not drop for first and just counter his deployment. Alright, so this is what he does. He sets up his cannon sights so that he knows where to move. He moves the Shrieking Horror back. He doesn't even want to give me a shot. So he just keeps it back so that I can't shoot at it at all. He moves the coach up. The Reapers are also in a bad spot for me to hit with cannons. His Vampire Knights come up. He moves his chaff back behind the wall so that I'll have a difficult time targeting them. And that's all he does with movement. He moves up a little bit, his big blocks, but he knows he can't really come forward into my big Flagellant blocks. So there you go. Magic phase. Uh, the main spell he has, he's got this occultism spell, I believe it is, that will prevent me from shooting. So he's going to try to cast it on my cannons. I stop that because I want to be able to shoot with my cannons. And then I let him bring a zombie unit in, which he congas. We got Congo zombies on turn 1. Alright, so I come forward. So it's now my turn. This was my big mistake, and I don't... It's going to be hard for me to articulate why I did it. So here's my knights. I move my knights now. I kind of wheel out to here. My thought process was, if he moves his coach and Reapers forward, or even the Shrieking Horror if he flies it out here, my knights can then charge. So I move my knights out so that I can now charge. But if I had just left them where they were, I still could have charged. I didn't need to move them forwards. So that was a big mistake to move them forwards. I should have just left them where they were, but I didn't. Because where they were, they still would have had they had a good line of sight. They were a good deployment, and then I ruined their good deployment by moving in this way. So, you can probably guess what's going to happen on his turn. On the other side, I just push forward with everything. Flagellants come forward to threaten his knights, because honestly, I don't care if his knights charge in to my Flagellants. If his knights charge into my spearmen, I have enough ranks, especially because I'll have Steadfast from the parent unit, that I'm not really worried about that either. I'm probably going to outgrind him. And my Flagellants probably will be able to see his flank. Well, actually, I'm not sure about that. I also decide I'm going to give him... I move my Rangers up so that I'm not chapping myself. And I move my Rangers up, and I know it's giving him a flank charge to the Rangers, but I decide, you know what, if he does that, I can either flee and his Knights will just be out in the open, or if I stay and he does make it, then I don't really care if I lose the Rangers because he's not really going anywhere. Like, what does he do? Does he overrun and end up in front of my other Flagellants? Does he not overrun and end up in front of my parent unit? Either way, I don't care. So I give him a flank here. I just want to kill these Congo zombies and not trap myself. Alright. On my turn, I get some good magic spells off. Enveloping Embers on this big spear unit. Whittle them down. Then I do some, trying to think. Yeah. So pyro spells start to whittle down couple of his units. Shooting. Both of my cannons missed. I know for sure was shooting at the coach, and I think this cannon shot at his Reapers. I'm not 100% certain. Either the Reapers or I might have actually shot at the Knights, but either way, my cannons both missed. And my Rangers don't have a whole lot to shoot at, but I just whittle these zombies down. So on his turn, what does he do? He now decides I left a gap over here, which was a little bit of a mistake, though I had left my spearman behind in case he did this. So I left a little bit of a gap. He is able to move his knights here. And then he chaffs me with these wolves. So now that his dire wolves are chaffing my flagellants can't charge his vampire knights. My spearmen behind, I left them there in case he did something like this. I could charge with them, though I know that's not a charge I'm 100% certain that I'm going to do well at because this unit will then be, it's more than 8 inches away. So, he thought about charging my rangers, but he decided in the end it was better to try to sneak past me. So he's trying to sneak past. He then chaffs me with these guys. Does he bring his... No. He doesn't bring his big blocks forward. He doesn't like my enveloping embers. He knows that with enveloping and he kind of, after first turn I killed that many skeletons with my pyro magic, he knows he can't engage. So he just keeps these guys back here. He keeps his shrieking horror back here. But then he flanks my knights with his reapers, which I'm sure all of you saw coming after I moved him like the way I did. If I'd kept my knights where he were, his reapers can't put pressure on my cannons, because if they do, my knights can charge them. So I should have left the knights where they were. They were in a good position. As they are, I can't charge. He can freely move the reapers forwards. Now I'm in a real bad pickle because the reapers are now within range. They can fly, so I can't chaff them. They can now charge my cannon, or my knights, or my rangers. It's not good, just because I had moved my knights out. So that was my big mistake. I'm kicking myself. I'm kicking myself so much. Over here though, yeah, that's basically it. His turn. He gets off. He does get off the spell that stops my cannon, and uh, I don't remember. I think I tried to dispel it and I failed. It was something like a 10 or 9, and I rolled 3 dice and I failed. I should have just rolled 4 and stopped, and I didn't. So he got that off, so that cannon can't shoot. But then I used all of my other dice to stop him from bringing back more zombies. So now it's my turn. I charge these zombies because there's no downside. I don't care if his spear block or his skeletons come forwards and charge me. And that's my only. No. And I also charge my. Do I charge those? No, I don't charge them. I thought about charging my spears into the wolves, but I decided I really need to get this unit into his appointment zone, because that's really the only way at this point that I'm going to score, is if I can get this unit in. So, this is what I do. I put the march movement on them so they can move 12. I move my rangers into position so that I can shoot his wolves. I then do a reform on flagellants as such so that he can't sneak past me. He's gonna have to engage with his knights. Like he can't do anything. And then I turn these guys so that I can try to also go for objective, although they're kind of far away at this point. Then I do this over here. I slide my rangers over so that I can at least try to shoot the reapers and whittle them down. And I move my knights like this. So this way, I figure, okay, if he charges the cannon, my knights can then charge him after he kills the cannon. Or he can charge the rangers, or he can charge my knights. Either way, I feel like this is the best move I can do given the situation that I'm in. So, there we have it. And I'm a little unsure of what he's gonna do with the coach, so I keep these Vigilants kind of back. I try to slide my Arcane Engine over though, so that he can try to cast Fate's Judgment on the Reapers. Um, this was magic. Okay, magic. I um, I think I got Fate's Judgment off on them. I didn't get any Pyro spells off. He doesn't really like me blowing up his skeletons. But then I'm able to have 2 dice at the end, so I put Perception of Strength on my knights. So this way, and I was able to get Guiding Light on them because I was able to get Fate's Judgment off. So Fate's Judgment on the Reapers, Perception of Strength on the knights. This way, if he charges the knights with his Reapers, my knights are now Strength 5. And I feel like that might dissuade him from charging the knights. And then we do shooting. With shooting, I'm able to kill 5 of his direwolves. My cannon, I think I hit the Reaper, and then I rolled a 1 to wound. That's just how it is with cannons. And this cannon can't shoot, of course. My other shots didn't do anything to the Reapers. So, his turn, what does he do? Well, you can see on the flank over here, he charges his knights into my flagellants. I'm not really sure. I mean, at this point, I don't know what he can really do. He basically he said, I don't know what else to do with these guys. So he charged them in. He charges zombies into my spears because he needs to stop me from scoring. And uh, he charged my rangers. He was actually really surprised. I stood and shot with the rangers. He said he was really surprised. He was hoping they would flee, and they didn't. I just stayed there. Because now my knights have a flank on his reapers. So I think he wanted them to flee, and then he was gonna probably charge my knights, but I'm not sure. Um, but now he decides to be aggressive with his Shrieking Horror. He puts it on the hill so that he can now see all my guys. But now he knows that now that he's got one of my ranger units occupied, but I still have 2 cannons with a bead on it. So he was a little he was very nervous about this move, but he decided, you know what, I need to do something with the Shrieking Horror, so he moved it up to here. These wolves just turned. I think he also didn't. I think he was just trying to use them as chaff. Oh, those rangers fled. What? Oh, his zombies. I think his zombies charged my rangers, and they fled. So then he charged into my spears. So my rangers are here. All right. Magic. He is able to get that spell off again, so now my cannon can't shoot him. And he's able to resurrect some skeletons. So, not great. Um, but shooting, his Shrieking Horror kills 5 of my knights. But they stay because I put Guiding Light on them, thankfully. Um, yeah, I hate. This is one of the biggest complaints I have in Ninth Age is the auto hits. Um, impact hits that are auto, and any shooting attack that's auto hit seems to be a little broken. So, anyway, but that is what it is. It's only range 8, so I guess that's the way they justify it. It's range 8, but it auto hits. It's just instant death. So, his Reapers break my Rangers, of course. They didn't kill them all. They broke, and they didn't flee off the board. He elected not to pursue, so that, because he was doing the math, and he needed like a 6 or a 7 to get out of line of sight of my knights. and he wasn't confident he would get a 6 or a 7, or something like that. So he elected to just turn and face them. I won combat over here, so now I reform my flagellants in a way that I can actually hurt his knights on the following turn. And my spears start grinding through his zombies. There you go. So must have killed like 6 zombies or more. Anyway, now it's my turn. So my turn, of course, I charge my knights into his reapers. And now I charge. Oh, that's right. My spears I brought up from behind charge into his dire wolves because they're just sitting there still. And I rally my rangers. Those are the only charges, I think. Yep. And then I push forward with this flagellant unit. Now at this point, I seriously considered pushing forward with this flagellant unit, but I knew at this point it's unlikely he's actually going to bring both of his flagellant units forwards. Or his skeleton units forwards, excuse me. If he does, I can outflank him with my parent unit. And I decided I needed to have a flagellant unit here just in case. Because I'm not confident that the knights are going to do so well. And if I had turned my flank to him, now he's got 3 fast-moving targets on my unprotected flank. So instead, I turn my flagellants towards them because I know stuff probably isn't going to go so well with the knights, and I need to protect my flank here. So that's what I do. And then we go to magic. I'm able to get perception of strength off again. Wait, am I on the knights? But it doesn't matter. I'm not sure if I actually did that or not. I definitely did pyro damage to his skeletons. He stops fate judgment on his shrieking horror because he needs to protect that. Shooting wise, my cannons also missed him again, and my rangers missed. I wasn't doing any wounds. So the cannons missed again, big whiff. His reapers, I only did a couple wounds, killed one reaper, but they killed, I think I had one left. They killed 4, I had one left, and then I broke and he ran me down. So now he's here. My flagellants over here, though, are able to kill his vampire knights, so now they're in a good position. And of course, I killed his wolves, so my spears are here, ready to protect. In case he comes forwards, I now have flanks on him. And I've whittled his zombie unit down to 2 already. His turn. What does he do? He charges this block in. I think he's kind of hoping he can. I don't know. I don't know if he expects this block to be able to go by. What he should have done, well, I guess he probably doesn't have enough movement to slide past me. So because he can't slide past me, and doesn't want to give me a flank to charge, he charges me. Yeah. He moves his Shrieking Horror back. Now that it was on the hill, and he killed 5 knights, which allowed his Reapers to survive, he flies it back. He decides, I'm not going to give him any more chances of shooting me. He resurrects zombies. I just wasn't able to stop it. He resurrected zombies. Here, I mostly was trying to stop combat buffs, I think. Here. Alright. Then on my turn, at the end of the turn, I'm able to combat reform my flagellants so that I am able to fight him better next turn. Oh, that's right. On his turn, I totally missed this. His Reapers charge my Rangers and I flee. I went back and forth over this, and I decided if I just stay, it's almost an auto that he's gonna be able to connect with them. He's gonna kill them, and he's gonna be in my back line with 2 Reapers. So I decided to flee. Now it's a lot further. He needed like a 7 to reach them when they were there. Now he needs a 10. He doesn't get a 10, he fails, so he only goes a couple inches forwards, which is exactly what I wanted to happen, so sorry about that. Then, of course, on my turn, I charge my Flagellants into his Reapers, I rally my Rangers, because I'm within 18 of my General, and I just try to move these Flagellants forwards. There we go. Magic-wise, I don't have a whole lot to cast with Pyro at this point. I can't move my Mage because I just rallied. So I can't really do much with Pyro. But I am able to get off Perception of Strength, and I debuff his Reapers. So his Reapers are only Strength 4 now instead of Strength 5, which was pretty big for this combat. And then I also bubble Stars Align, which I didn't take the time to look up after the battle, though I'm still confident in this. Stars Align is 6 inches in a bubble, but when you have another mage, doesn't it also benefit from the conclave rule or whatever it is in divination? Let me pull it up. So in divination, if you have a friendly mage within 12 inches, it says spells from divination gain +3 range. So I am pretty sure I've looked this up before on the forums, and that does apply to the aura spells. So I'm pretty sure that Stars Align now is in an aura of 9 inches, but I said it doesn't matter because the 2 units that I want to have the aura are within 6. So I just wanted to get reroll to hit on both of these Flagellant units. So that was magic. Shooting, I'm still not really able to do much with shooting this whole game. These Flagellants just blow up this skeleton unit because I've got 20. Well, let's see. I've got 22 attacks, and I rerolled a hit with Stars Align. So they just blow up. My heavy infantry finally kill those zombies, so now this unit is free to they're far enough forward. I'm not sure he can charge me. And they're far enough forward to that they can just go into his deployment zone. And Flagellants are starting to grind away at the Reapers. So now he's kind of in panic mode. Well, he charges his Dark Coach into my cannon. Not a lot I could have done about that. The cannon tried to hit it, couldn't. Uh, oh, that's right. I had a misfire the previous turn, so I took a wound. So I rolled a 6 on the misfire table. Took a wound, and so he congos these zombies, so that he moves his mage out and he congos these zombies to block me because he doesn't want my Flagellants to be able to get into his vampire count unit. What did he do on magic? I think he was just trying to bring back zombies, and I just kept stopping him. Then in combat, of course, his Dark Coach kills my cannon, and then it decides to pursue off the board. That's why there's an X there, so that I remember not to shoot it. Oh, right there. This is what he cast. So he was able to get off that occultism spell that prevents this Twisted Effigy is what it's called now that I remember. The Rangers can't shoot because of Twisted Effigy, and he cast a boosted version of it, so that I have -2 to cast on my mage. So I put the 2 there to remember that I have -2 to cast. And then, because he got that off, he put Evil Eye on my Flagellants, which was actually kind of a big deal because now they only have March 6. So on my turn, I push forwards my spears because I figure I know I'm giving him a flank, but I don't care if he charges my flank because that will make him go through the water and take DTs. If he connects, he's now within range of my Flagellants charging him in the flank. Or my parent unit. So I am fine with that. I put my Flagellants into his zombies. And I put the march order on these guys so that I can just march them forwards out of arc. So now, and I measured, he can fly 16 and shoot 8 with the Shrieking Horror. I made sure that they were more than 24 inches. They're like 26 inches away from the Shrieking Horror, so he can't shoot them with that. He can't charge them with this. So now at this point, I'm feeling pretty good because I've now got the objective locked down. He's not going to be able to get into my objective with any scoring units, my deployment zone. And I've been just kind of crushing his army. Although he has taken out a cannon, and he took out my knights. So, and one of my units of rangers. My flagellants. The problem was I could only come forward 6 inches instead of 8. So they're not close enough to be able to charge him on the next turn because we're getting near the end of the game. Flagellants did quite a number on that zombie unit. I just move forwards. I'm still thinking to myself, what if he flies his Shrieking over here and tries to like snipe my mage? Because that's what I would do if I were him. So I have my rangers in position in case he does use his Shrieking Horror. I can shoot him with that and with the cannon. Alright. His last turn, what he does, he moves his vampire count out of the unit. Trying to get it, basically, he tried to get it out of line of sight of my cannon. Though we measured and I still could see the very corner of it. So he didn't quite get out of line of sight of the cannon. Maybe I should have worked with him to see if he actually could get out of line of sight better, but anyway, he didn't want my flagellants to be able to charge in and kill that unit at all. And then he had to position this unit after the vampire count left. So that I wouldn't be able to charge him with anything. There we go. So his Dark Coach comes back on, and he resurrected zombies, and then I just killed zombies. So my flagellants couldn't go anywhere, so I charge my spears in, and I charge my flagellants, because at this point in the game, I'm like, why not? I measured it, I need a 12. But I know if I get a 12, my flagellants will come in. Yeah, I'll take DTs, but I'll just destroy this unit and get points for it, and whatever. I actually rolled an 11. I usually don't take charges that are that long. But I decided at this point in the game, I'm looking at things, and I was counting up units already, and I figured I already have a 16 to 4. What's the harm in charging my flagellants? So I charge. I fail, but good attempt. I then did a lot of fancy maneuvering. I was trying to get my arcane engine within 21 inches, because Fate's Judgment is an 18-inch spell, but if I'm within 12 of my own mage, then it gains 3 inches. So I try to get my engine within 21 inches of his vampire count, so I can try to cast Fate's Judgment and blow him up. Well, I could do that if I put my engine here, but if I do that, I block line of sight, because it's towering. I have towering presence, and he has towering presence. So I would block line of sight of my cannon to his vampire count. So I decided not to do that. It took me 5 minutes to figure out how to move from here to here within, because I only have an 8-inch move. If I was playing in person with a real model, I would have done it in like 30 seconds. But when I'm playing on UB, it takes me 5 minutes. That's partly why my games take a little long. But I am able to just barely get within 21 inches. So then we go to my magic phase. I cast Fate's Judgment. It came up as the 1 card. So it turned out I have channel 3. It ended up being a 6 to 4 phase. And uh so he knew he's in trouble because I did what of course anyone would do. Well, I don't know if anyone would do this, because I I do consider not doing it because I risk blowing up my mage. But I throw 5 dice on big Fate's Judgment on his vampire count. 5 dice to his 4. I didn't actually roll super high, but he rolls his 4 to try to dispel, and he fails. For the number of hits, I rolled a 4. So I did 4 hits to his vampire count, 4 wounds, just like that from Fate's Judgment. I have 1 dice left. I 1 dice Fireball, because it's only a 4 plus. Fireball on him. For a number of hits, I think I actually rolled a 6 and got lucky. 6 strength, 4 hits on him. He fails a couple of Aegis saves. I only need 1 wound on him, and his vampire count blows up. He was telling me after the game what he should have done. The smart thing was let Fate Judgment through. Hope he has 5 wounds total. The vampire count on that altar has 5 wounds. Hope that I don't roll a 5 or 6. Because if I don't, then he has 4 dice to dispel any of my other spells, and I can't blow him up with a fireball. So that's what he said he should have done. Then I would have had to have my cannon hit, which I'm not sure would have happened. I don't think my rangers are within range, so I wouldn't have been able to do that final wound to him. But so there you have it. His vampire count blew up on the last turn, and then he took wounds on his Shrieking Horror because he lost his general, and then he lost a couple skeletons because of it. Oops. And that's it. It ended up being an 18 to do 18 to 2 win for me. So I felt pretty good about that because I thought it was a yellow going in. Yeah, there was a little bit of luck with Fate's Judgment at the end and whatnot, but honestly, I don't talk about dice a lot necessarily. I mean, I guess I reference it a little bit with the cannons not hitting. I don't talk about dice because I can't control the dice. So if you are wondering why I don't say like how many dice I rolled or how many hits I had in combat, it's because I can't control those things. All I can control is how I move my units and what I pick to target. And so that's what I talk about because those are the things that I can improve. I can't improve the way I roll dice. Now in real life, I actually do maintain that there's a certain way you can roll dice and roll better, but when I'm rolling on UB rolls for me, and I have nothing to do with it. So that's why I don't talk about dice. But Fate's Judgment. I mean, I knew here's the thing that Dan T on the forums says. I've messaged him a couple times to help me learn and grow as a player. One of the things Dan T says is dice. If you just roll enough dice in a game, the dice is kind of balance out. So yeah, my cannons didn't hit anything all game, but I knew some other dice were coming my way at other points, and so that's just how it works out. So don't complain when your cannons don't hit. Don't complain when you roll a 2 for a charge when you only needed like a 5 and it messes up your whole game. Like, just work around those things. Dice aren't that big of a deal in the long run of things, or if they are, make sure that you're figure out how many units you have and range things so that you're rolling enough dice. Because if you roll enough dice, eventually you're gonna have good dice on certain things, and the game's gonna go better for you. So that's my little soapbox. 18 to 2 win for the religious procession. When I messaged him to set up this game, he said that's not an army, that's a religious procession. Yes, it is. 90 Flagellant Religious Procession came out with the W, and thank you for watching. Hope you learned some things from this. Again, obviously, I don't know how to use those knights. I made that big move in error on my turn 1. Shouldn't have moved those knights, but luckily I was still able to have salvage that, and I protected myself well the rest of the game so that he was able to take out those knights, but he wasn't able to do any more damage than that. I didn't tell him this after the game, but personally, I felt he should have used the Shrieking Horror. I know he was scared of my cannons, and that's one of the big things that cannons do. They zone people, and they make it so they don't want to bring their monsters forwards. Well, now you just have a monster sitting behind the mountain, with any passable, and if your monster's not doing anything, yeah, you're saving your points, but if you're not using your points, then I actually have an advantage over you. So, in my opinion, you should just bring your monsters forwards. Some games I'm going to hit you and I'm going to kill you on rounds 1 or 2, like I did in the first game against Undying Dynasties a couple weeks ago. Other games, I'm going to miss the whole game and your monster's just going to tear me up. It's just how it is. If you bring a monster, you probably need to use it aggressively, regardless of whether or not your opponent has cannons. There are times you should be strategic. You know, you could fly it up, hide it behind the hill 1 turn. so that I can't really shoot at you with both or maybe even with either. Yeah, you can still be strategic about it, but I think you need to be a little more aggressive. I think that was his big mistake on this. He should have been aggressive with his Shrieking Horror. And other than that, I'm not really sure. I don't play VC, but there you have it. So thanks for watching the Empire of Sonstal Religious Procession. Hope you have a good rest of your day wherever you are in the world. That you stay safe and stay fuzzy.